Okay, I think we are recording.
It says
So,
so.
yeah. So we've met about a week ago, and
Yes.
you wanted to work on sugar addiction. So why don't you introduce yourself, like who you are, where you're from, what you do first?
Okay. My name's Linda Marks. I am from Vicksburg, Michigan, and I am a truck driver. I'm a local truck driver. Um, I sit for very long periods of time, and sometimes I like to eat sugary stuff, lots of sugary stuff. So,
So that's the problem you came with last time to work on. The
yes,
sugar, you said you called it the sugar addiction.
yes.
Mm-hmm. So share a little bit how this week went, if you felt any changes with the
After our
problem.
after our meeting last week, I one of the things I discovered is that my need, want of sugar may be founded in the fact that I have unresolved grief issues because so many of my family members have passed. But this week, during the week, I did not have issues with sugar. I won't say that I did not have sugar this week, but it didn't control me. I controlled it. I believe through the whole week, I didn't have any cookies. I didn't have any cake. I did have, on Friday, I got a Reese's peanut butter cup, and I only got one. Usually I get the king size package with the two king size big cups. And I didn't this time. I said, no, I really just wanted the peanut butter cup. It wasn't because I was sad or upset, or it was just because I genuinely wanted this. And I thought, no, really, one is enough. You don't need all of those. So I just got the one, and it was fabulous. I didn't eat it quickly. I actually enjoyed it and savored it. And then yesterday, I did get a donut, but it was just one. And again, it was enjoyed and savored. It wasn't usually when I get a donut, I'll stop and say, oh, I got a donut. But no, it's usually 3 donuts. This was just one donut, and it took me quite some time to eat it. And I really enjoyed it, and I didn't feel the need to go get anything else sweet after that. So 2 sugary things in the space of a week is probably less than what I would usually have in one day. So I would say that was remarkable.
Wow. So how were usually your cookies and cakes and everything else? How was it before we worked?
Before we worked, nearly, well, I don't want to say every day, but boy, almost every day I would stop and I would get like the Reese's, the big king size ones that come 2 in a package. And if there was a sale, like buy one, get one 50% off, I would get 2 of those. And I would eat them, all 4 of those big, huge peanut butter cups, in less than 2 hours, which is a huge amount of sugar. Or I would stop in the morning and I would get donuts, and I would always get at least 2, and depending on where I stopped, it would be 2 or 3. But this week I didn't do any of that. I didn't sit around thinking about sugar. I didn't sit around thinking about what can I eat, what will make me feel better, or anything like that. So I think it was good.
Mm-hmm. And we used tapping when we worked. Did you use any of it by yourself? Did you try by chance?
Well, as I told you before we started recording, I had an accident during this week, and during the sitting and waiting for the police to come time, once, I was sure no one was injured, everybody was okay. And after everybody got done talking to me, I did find that I was sitting there tapping my forehead, and I guess it kept me grounded because I didn't feel the need to go out and get sugar. I did think about it. I thought, boy, after this, I've earned a donut. And I thought, really, do you really need a donut? Think about the donut. Why do you want the donut? And I tapped a couple of times, and I never did go get the donut. So,
Awesome. You were really in control.
yeah, I really was in control of all of it this week. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a good thing.
Not the donuts controlling you. I think you used to say, you said something like that during your session, that the donut was controlling you. Maybe not.
Pretty
Maybe I'm
much.
wrong. But
Well, the sugar did pretty much control me, and it's candy, cookies, cake, pie. Not so much pie. I can kind of walk by pie, but if pie is the only source of sugar, I will eat it. But this week, no, I did really well. I was very, very pleased with my restraint, and it wasn't a conscious, oh my goodness, I have to focus and not do this. It was like, do you really want it, and why do you want it? Well, I don't really want it. Okay, then why do you think you want it? No, I just don't. So it was more of a habit, that I was breaking a habit, than to something that was deep seated,
mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to share if anything about the grief you said you had? And then during this, we worked a little bit on that with the grief of your relatives passing. Did you feel any shift with those feelings?
Honestly, I have those feelings buried so deeply that I didn't really realize I had them. I am the type of person who, my way of dealing with things is I box them up in a nice tight box, and I store them in the attic of my mind. And periodically I will go in and take something out and look at it and say, yep, still hurts, and put it back. And then I just move on. Well, last week we had to pull some of those things out, and they were a little bit painful. And it was good because I felt lighter and freer, but I didn't deal with much of that over the week, as far as in regards to the sugar. I would, if I found myself thinking that I'm going to go get a donut, I would say, yeah, well, it's not going to bring them back.
Mm-hmm.
So, I made the realization through last week that a lot of what drives my sugar addiction is grief. And once I realized that, I could ask myself, do you want the donut because you're sad and you miss people, or do you want the donut because you really want a donut? And I would just tell myself, if it was because I was sad or something, I would say, well, you know what, it's not going to bring them back, so how about you just don't have the donut?
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So as we wrap it up, if you want to share any plans for the future, any overall impressions of working with me, and wishes for other people, if they thinking to try working with me, or try or not try.
I think what you do would be very, very good for people who suffer from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, because usually there's a catalyst of something that happened that you can go right back. I mean, with me, we can go back to a lifetime of things that have accrued, but people with post-traumatic stress tend to have one thing, and I think it might help them work through that and lessen the severity of it. We could play in my mind for, well, I'm 56 years old. We could play in my mind for another 56 years and probably not get it all addressed. But I think people with very traumatic experiences, post-traumatic stress, maybe rape victims, they could probably really benefit because they can isolate the moment of their anxiety and try to let that go.
Yes.
And I think that would be very beneficial. Myself, when I had a couple of spots this week. I said, oh, just let it go. Yep, it was gone. So it was very good. Yeah. So I would tell anybody that's got some stress, anxiety issues, give it a try. I mean, really, honestly, what do you have to lose? My personal feelings is our world is over medicated, and people are not trying to learn coping skills. They're not trying natural things to learn to deal with things. Instead, they're turning to a pill or something of that nature. Try something natural and see if it helps you. And if it doesn't, the pill will always be there. So,
Yeah. So you tried it, it worked. Like you had a whole week of sugar not controlling you.
yeah,
This is awesome to
sugar
hear.
did not control me this week. It was really good because, I'd stop, I would get like hungry. My day starts at 3 a.m. and usually around 10 a.m. I'm getting a little hungry, but it's not lunchtime yet. So sometimes I'll stop and get a snack, and that's usually where the sugary stuff comes in. But this week I stopped and I got some chips. I think I got chips one day, and I think I got some string cheese another day. Chips obviously are not a healthy replacement for sugar. I mean, they're both bad, but it's just what that particular place had. I at a little bit of a disadvantage because I have 70 feet of truck to park. I can't just run into whatever grocery store. I have to be selective about where I stop. But I made better choices. I didn't feel deprived. I didn't feel punished. I didn't feel like it was a constant battle. Like when I do try to diet and I try to cut sugar out, I can do it, but it's a battle. I mean, I really have to focus on it, and I'm a little bit angry because I can't have that sugar. I wasn't angry this week because I could have the sugar if I wanted it, but now that I know what helps to drive that, I don't want it as badly because instead I just go and deal with the fact that, okay, yeah, probably still have some grief there and it's okay. And I just deal with the grief aspect of it instead of just sugaring up and medicating by sugar.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think we're going to end it unless you want to say something else.
Nope.
Anything to add? All right. Thank you so much. I'm just going to stop the recording right here.